Presidents Moon and Putin did see eye to eye on economic terms, especially on the development of Russia and Far East regions. But that wasn't exactly the case when it comes to North Korean nuclear and missile development. Jung-hee delves deeper into the summit talks.
Wednesday's summit talks between President Moon Jae-in and his Russian counterpart, President Vladimir Putin, became the meeting stage for the two countries' economic goals. After the summit talks, President Moon made it very clear that South Korea is the most appropriate partner for Russia's Far East development, as Russian President Putin's been hoping to develop his country's Far East region through cooperation with Asia-Pacific countries, while President Moon has been aiming to find new growth engines by expanding ties with Russia, especially in logistics, railways, and natural gas.
Russia hopes to develop its Far East region through massive infrastructure investments such as airports, railways, and electricity facilities. But such project has been facing difficulties because of sanctions from Western countries after Moscow's annexation of Crimea. South Korea should utilize this opportunity.
Seoul and Moscow agreed to carry out joint projects at harbor areas of Vladivostok and work on signing an FTA between South Korea and the Eurasian Economic Union. They'll also kickstart on a bilateral level for now some projects they hope to carry out trilaterally with Pyongyang.
The leaders made a more practical approach compared to previous talks. Regarding economic cooperation, the two sides used to be very abstract, but this time they were very specific, which signals higher feasibility. They are also very realistic, choosing to first focus on bilateral cooperation rather than a trilateral one with North Korea.
But in regards to a growing threat posed by North Korea's provocations, the two leaders weren't able to narrow down their different perspectives. President Putin reiterated his stance that pressure and sanction can't be the ultimate solution to Pyongyang's nuclear ambition. And while Russia holds the key in cutting oil supply and cash flow to the North Korean regime, such measures weren't mentioned in the two leaders' joint statement.
Russia's stance has not changed in terms of North Korea's nuclear development, but it seems President Moon stressed his view on the North Korean issue enough to have President Putin defend his position through his statement.
However, experts say Seoul's expanded economic cooperation with Moscow could play a role in curbing North Korean threats.
Putin wants the Russian Far East developing. So he needs investment and economic cooperation with the Asia-Pacific countries, and North Korea is an obstacle to his plan in developing Far East. Moon Jae-in can maximize Korea's security interest by utilizing economic issues.
Although the two leaders didn't see eye to eye on all issues discussed at their summit, experts believe Seoul was able to gain leverage at some extent from Moscow for dealing with Pyongyang. As President Moon stressed, solving the North Korea issue and easing tensions on the Korean Peninsula are critical for the development of Russia's Far East. Jung-hee, Arirang News.